We came together 6 weeks ago to look at effective humanitarian civil-military coordination, or UN CMCoord. We connected our background and interests from the peace and security, development, and humanitarian communities. We also connected to the technology necessary to work collaboratively over time zones and across geographical areas. We looked at the key trends in UN CMCoord: support to protection, support to access, humanitarian notification system, and also working alongside non-state armed groups. The key takeaway of the first week is to value and respect different mandates. All stakeholders are needed for effective humanitarian civil-military coordination. In the second week, we looked at the normative framework of UN CMCoord, but also at other concepts like CIMIC or UN CIMIC or humanitarian civil-military interaction. What is UN CMCoord? And the three key elements of UN CMCoord: information sharing, task division, and planning. We also looked at the tasks of a UN CMCoord officers, and again we came together in small groups and discussed the normative framework from our individual standpoint. And we started our first session on effective communication, a key ingredient for every UN CMCoord officer. The key takeaway of this week is: let us prepare well for the mandate and operating procedures of other stakeholders. At the core of the third week was the assessment process, the analysis, to analyze the civil-military coordination environment in a structured way. We looked at the comparative advantages in this process, since every single actor can bring some strengths to the assessment process if we do it collaboratively. We also looked at biases, and the micro-learning on the biases causes always a lot of debate among participants, and the virtual OSSOG is full of comments on the biases and on the traps when we are going along the 5 steps of our assessment cycle. The key takeaway of this week is continuously compare notes between humanitarian development and peace and security actors. It's not rocket science, it's just talking to each other and keep this dialogue open during a continuous assessment and analysis of the UN CMCoord environment. The discussion in week 4 on the use and the work with military assets is always a very emotional debate. We discussed how we can best utilize military assets in support of humanitarian action. And again, the principle of last resort came up, most likely misunderstood all over the globe. The last resort is a unique capability, and the military is often a unique capability timely available in support of humanitarian assistance. What we want to utilize these assets, unique assets, in the most effective way. We also want to persuade each other, so the micro-learning on the principles of persuasion are once again a necessary soft skill to employ military assets effectively in support of humanitarian work. A key takeaway from this week is most likely that when we request military assets, we request what they should do and not who should do it with what asset. We are requesting for the effect and not for the asset. We started week 5 with ethical influencing techniques, and later during the week we looked at how we can use the social, rational and emotional techniques to reach people in need of humanitarian assistance. The topic was access and hard to reach areas. In an exercise, we looked at the 5 constraints, the major constraints of access or humanitarian access. And we came up with a lot of problems and solutions how to overcome these obstacles. Also, we touched upon the implications of working alongside non-state armed groups. Week 6 on protection, or UN CMCoord in support of protection, always causes a lot of debate. We looked at protection from different angles, from the 3 Ds of peacekeepers or from the NATO military perspective, and we debated protection based on a scenario where IDPs get stranded at an airport and where the authorities use excessive force. Now, some people say protection work is a very sensitive area. For the UN CMCoord officer, we should not get engaged too deeply in the advocacy part, for instance. At the same time, the UN CMCoord officer reflecting on the tasks has a lot to contribute. The key elements on protection, on responsive action, remedial action, and environment building, and what it means for the UN CMCoord officer is very context specific. Again, the discussion and the dialogue with all actors or those concerned with protection is important. The key takeaway is leave protection to the experts and contribute as much as we can from a UN CMCoord perspective within our mandate and within our responsibilities. And finally, we looked at the different leadership styles, persuading near and up and all around the function of a UN CMCoord officers. There are certain areas what we lead, and to lead a certain area, we must go a little bit deeper into the different styles and what style, what leadership style, what management style works with different people in different contexts. So thank you for going through this process, and thank you for listening.